Welcome to Historian Diary. Today I'm going to tell you a story that will make you question everything you think you know about justice, fear, and human nature. A story about a small village in Massachusetts, where neighbors turned against neighbors, where children's words sent innocent people to their deaths, and where mass hysteria gripped an entire community. This is the story of the Salem witch trials. But here's what makes this story truly terrifying. It wasn't about witchcraft at all. It was about fear, power, trauma, and the darkest corners of the human mind. Close your eyes and imagine yourself in 1692. You're living in a tiny Puritan village. Your neighbors are watching you. One wrong word, one strange gesture, and you could be accused of witchcraft. And if you're accused, you're probably going to die. This is Salem, Massachusetts, and hell is about to break loose. Winter 1692, Salem Village, Massachusetts. It's a cold, harsh place. The Puritan community lives in constant fear. Fear of God's wrath, fear of sin, fear of the devil, and most of all, fear of the wilderness surrounding them and the Native Americans who have been attacking settlements during King William's War. Refugees from these attacks have been flooding into Salem, bringing with them stories of horror, death, and trauma. The entire community is on edge. And into this powder keg of fear and anxiety, something strange begins to happen. In the home of Reverend Samuel Parris, two young girls start exhibiting bizarre behavior. 9-year-old Betty Parris, the Reverend's daughter, and her 11-year-old cousin Abigail Williams begin having fits. They scream. They contort their bodies into impossible positions. They claim to see things that aren't there. They speak in strange voices. The local doctor, William Griggs, examines them. He can find no medical explanation for their condition, so he gives a diagnosis that will doom dozens of people to death. He says the girls are bewitched. Someone has used witchcraft on them, and just like that, the hunt begins. The girls are pressured to name their tormentors, and they do. They accuse Tituba, a slave woman from Barbados who works in the Parris household. They accuse Sarah Good, a homeless beggar. They accuse Sarah Osborne, an elderly woman who rarely attends church. Notice something about these first accusations. All three women are outsiders. They're people with no power, no standing in the community. They're easy targets, and this pattern will continue throughout the trials. Where are you watching this from? What country are you in? Let me know in the comments. Tituba is brought in for questioning. And here's where things get really interesting. Under intense pressure, and probably fearing for her life, Tituba confesses. She says yes, she is a witch. She says she saw the devil, that he appeared to her as a tall man in black. She says there are other witches in Salem. This is exactly what the authorities want to hear. Because if Tituba is telling the truth, then there's a conspiracy of witches threatening the community. The hunt must continue. The confessions must continue. More witches must be found. And so the accusations spread like wildfire. More girls start having fits. Ann Putnam Jr., Elizabeth Hubbard, Mercy Lewis, Mary Warren, they're all having the same symptoms. They're all naming names. And with each new accusation, the panic grows. Here's something crucial to understand. These weren't just random accusations. Many of the accused had something in common. They were involved in property disputes. They had arguments with their neighbors. They were women who didn't fit the Puritan ideal. Sarah Good was poor and pregnant, begging for food. Sarah Osborne had married her servant, which was scandalous. Martha Corey was outspoken and questioned the accusations, which made her suspicious. Rebecca Nurse was a respected church member, but her family had land disputes with the Putnam family, whose daughter Anne was one of the main accusers. You see a pattern? The accusations weren't random. They followed fault lines in the community. Old grudges, property disputes, social tensions. The girls, whether consciously or not, were giving voice to the community's existing conflicts. And they had power. For perhaps the first time in their lives, these young girls had incredible power. When they spoke, adults listened. When they pointed, people were arrested. When they screamed, people died. Think about that. In Puritan society, young girls had no power, no voice, no authority. They were expected to be silent, obedient, invisible, but suddenly they're the center of attention. suddenly they matter. Is it any wonder the accusations continued? The trials begin in June 1692, and they're a mockery of justice. The court accepts spectral evidence, which means if someone says they saw your spirit or specter doing something evil, that's considered proof. You don't have to actually do anything. Someone just has to say they saw your ghost doing it. Think about how insane that is. You can be convicted and executed based on someone else's dream or hallucination. There's no way to defend yourself. How do you prove you didn't send your spirit to torment someone? It's impossible. The game is rigged from the start. Are you still watching? What time is it where you are? Let me know in the comments. The first person executed is Bridget Bishop on June 10, 1692. She's hanged on Gallows Hill. 4 more women are hanged in July. 5 more people are hanged in August. 8 people are hanged in September. 19 people in total are hanged, but the death toll is actually higher. Giles Corey, an 80-year-old farmer, refuses to enter a plea. Under English law, if you don't enter a plea, you can't be tried. But there's a way to force you to plead. It's called pressing. They lay you on the ground and pile heavy stones on your chest until you either plead or die. Giles Corey was pressed for 2 days. His last words were reportedly, "More weight." He died without pleading, which meant his property couldn't be confiscated by the court and went to his sons instead. He died protecting his family's inheritance. Several others died in prison, including Sarah Osborne and Sarah Good's infant daughter. By September 1692, over 200 people have been accused. The jails are packed, and the accusations are starting to reach higher and higher in society. The wife of Governor Phipps is accused. Wealthy merchants are accused. Respected ministers are questioned. And this is when people start to wake up. When the accusations were targeting outsiders, poor people, difficult women, most of the community went along with it. But when the accusations start threatening the powerful, suddenly people start questioning whether this whole thing might have gone too far. Several prominent ministers, including Increase Mather, published statements questioning the use of spectral evidence. They argue that the devil could take the form of an innocent person to deceive the court. If that's true, then spectral evidence proves nothing. Governor Phipps, whose own wife has been accused, finally steps in. In October 1692, he dissolves the special court and forbids the use of spectral evidence. The trials essentially end. By May 1693, everyone still in jail is released. So what really happened in Salem? Why did this mass hysteria occur? Let's look at the theories, both historical and modern. First, the ergot theory. In 1976, a researcher named Linda Caporael suggested that the girls might have been poisoned by ergot, a fungus that grows on rye in damp conditions. Ergot contains compounds similar to LSD and can cause hallucinations, convulsions, and strange sensations. It's a fascinating theory, but most historians and scientists now reject it. Why? Because ergot poisoning affects entire communities who eat the contaminated grain, not just a select group of teenage girls. Also, the symptoms don't quite match. Ergot poisoning causes gangrene and severe physical illness, which wasn't reported in Salem. And perhaps most importantly, the girls' symptoms were selective. They had fits when it was convenient, when authority figures were watching. That's not how poisoning works, so if it wasn't ergot, what was it? Modern psychology offers several explanations. One possibility is mass psychogenic illness, also known as mass hysteria. This is a real phenomenon, where psychological distress manifests as physical symptoms and spreads through a group. It typically affects groups under stress, often young women, often in closed communities. Sound familiar? Salem fits the profile perfectly. The community was under enormous stress from the war, from religious pressure, from economic hardship. The girls were in a highly stressful, restrictive environment where they had no power and no outlet. Their symptoms gave them attention, sympathy, and most importantly, power. Another explanation involves trauma. Remember, refugees from King William's War were flooding into Salem. These people had seen their homes burned, their families killed. They were suffering from what we would now recognize as PTSD. This collective trauma created an atmosphere of fear and paranoia. People were looking for enemies, for explanations, for someone to blame for their suffering. The concept of witchcraft provided that explanation. Did you know about the Salem witch trials before this? Write in the comments. There's also the social and economic angle. Historians Paul Boyer and Stephen Nissenbaum did groundbreaking research showing that many of the accusers and accused were on opposite sides of property disputes and social divisions. Salem village was split between a traditional farming community and a more progressive commercial area connected to Salem town. The accusers tended to come from the traditional farming families, particularly the Putnam family. The accused often had ties to the commercial faction. The witch trials became a way to fight proxy wars over land, money, and the direction of the community. And then there's the power dynamics. In Puritan society, women had virtually no official power. They couldn't vote, couldn't hold office, couldn't preach. But accusing someone of witchcraft, that was power. The young girls who were the main accusers suddenly found themselves at the center of everything. Important men listened to them. Their words could imprison or free people. After a lifetime of being told to be quiet and obedient, they had voices that mattered. Some historians believe at least some of the girls were consciously manipulating the situation. Others think they may have started with genuine psychological distress that then spiraled as they realized the power they had. We should also consider the role of the authority figures. The ministers, the judges, the community leaders, they had their own reasons for pursuing the trials. For Reverend Paris, whose daughter and niece were the first afflicted, the trials validated his authority and his warnings about the devil's influence. For the judges, the trials demonstrated their importance and power. For the community leaders, the trials provided a scapegoat for all the community's problems. If things are going wrong, it's not bad leadership or bad luck, it's witches. It's an external enemy that can be identified and eliminated. Here's what I think happened in Salem, based on all the evidence. I think it was a perfect storm. You had a community under enormous stress from war, religious extremism, and social change. You had young girls in a repressive environment who discovered that certain behaviors gave them attention and power. You had existing social conflicts over land and status that needed an outlet. You had authority figures who were willing to believe and encourage the accusations because it served their interests. And you had a legal system that accepted evidence that made it impossible for the accused to defend themselves. None of these factors alone would have caused the trials, but together they created a deadly feedback loop that killed 20 people and destroyed countless lives. The aftermath of the Salem witch trials is itself a fascinating story. Within a few years, many people involved expressed regret. In 1697, the Massachusetts colony held a day of fasting and prayer to atone for the trials. Several of the trial judges publicly apologized. Anne Putnam Jr., one of the main accusers, gave a public confession in 1706, saying she was deluded by Satan when she made her accusations. In 1711, the colony passed a bill restoring the rights and good names of those accused and providing financial compensation to their families. In 1957, Massachusetts formally apologized, and as recently as 2001, there have been official exonerations of those convicted. But here's what's really important about Salem. It didn't end in 1693. The pattern repeats throughout history. Mass hysteria, moral panics, scapegoating. We see it in the McCarthy communist witch hunts of the 1950s, where people's lives were destroyed based on accusations without solid evidence. We see it in the satanic panic of the 1980s and early 90s, where hundreds of people were falsely accused of satanic ritual abuse based on coerced testimony from children. We see it in modern social media pile-ons and cancel culture, where accusations spread faster than facts and people's lives are destroyed before any investigation occurs. Salem teaches us several crucial lessons. First, fear is contagious and can override reason. Second, power matters. When powerless people suddenly gain power through accusations, they may use it destructively. Third, social divisions and existing conflicts will find outlets, and those outlets can be deadly. Fourth, Authority figures have a responsibility to maintain reason and justice, especially when emotions are running high. And fifth, perhaps most importantly, once a witch hunt starts, it's very hard to stop because stopping means admitting you were wrong. And that might make you the next target. The Salem witch trials lasted less than a year, but they've haunted American consciousness for over 300 years. And they should, because they show us what we're capable of when we let fear override reason, when we privilege accusation over evidence, when we allow the powerless to destroy rather than empower, when we scapegoat rather than solve our real problems. Salem wasn't an aberration. It was human nature under pressure. And understanding that is the only way to prevent it from happening again. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the Salem witch trials. If you found this exploration of mass hysteria and historical tragedy compelling, please like this video and subscribe to Historian Diary. We explore the darkest and most fascinating moments in history, asking hard questions about what really happened and what it means for us today. What other historical events would you like me to investigate? Let me know in the comments. And one final question. Do you think something like Salem could happen today? Or are we too enlightened, too rational, too modern? Think carefully before you answer. Until next time, keep exploring history with me.